Board with the boys.
Jesus, that was scary.
That works, I guess.
That was loud and pretty scary.
Welcome to episode 3 of Board with the Boys. The boys are back again, here to discuss some more topics for you all to enjoy.
All right.
And también tres.
What?
Means 3 in English.
I know what it means.
Multilingual podcast. Here we go.
So last week, we were on the topic of most influential video games to the 4 of us. And then at the very end there, we got into tabletop games. We figured we'd continue that topic of the most influential or just our favorite tabletop games.
Yeah,
I think
Christian brought it up, mentioned tabletop / like card games, anything not digital. I think a lot of us have played a lot of like just tabletop games that we're trying to play here. We definitely have more experience in the card game realm. So I'll kick it off with a card game that I grew up with. Yu-Gi-Oh! Easy. I think that's an easy one on most people's lists. The show was on in the peak of my childhood when, the most enjoyable, I guess. So the card game was easy to get into, easy to play. I felt it was easier to play than Pokemon was. Like I used to collect the Pokemon cards, but I never played like the actual game. But Yu-Gi-Oh! I definitely like collected purposely to like build decks. So that's probably high on my list for like tabletop-esque games.
Yeah, it was a tough time finding the cards when they first came out because they didn't really publish them all. They only had a certain amount. Like you had starter decks like Joey, Yugi, and Seto Kaiba. And I think that's it, right? I don't know if they had Pegasus 1 until later on.
Yeah, they had like the semi decks like from this show, but like I remember getting those decks, like we definitely had no idea how to play. We were trying to play like the show, and the show didn't stick to any sort of rule system at all.
I remember I used to have the thing you put on your arm, you slide your card into it, ready to duel, and then you fucking slide your card in there.
Yeah, I didn't have that, but I had like
that was a little ahead of time.
I never knew how to play. I just like bought the cool cards, and then we would just like put down cards and see which one. Like I don't think we ever played it the right way.
I guess no one really actually played it the right way the first time it came out.
Yeah, definitely not the first time. After a while, you get like better at it, but it's so much different than like some of the other games because like all the like cards have such high values on them, like 4,000 attack and like like I remember playing the game, and then we would like me and whoever I was playing with, we'd have like a notebook next to us, and we're literally like doing math, like 8,000 minus 5,200, and then there's a defense on this thing, and it was like it wasn't just like quick little hit points. It was like a whole math journey every time, and I guess that was educational in some sense.
If you want to get deeper into Yu-Gi-Oh, one of my favorite cards was the Magic Cylinder. It was a trap card.
I remember that.
You flip that over, and it reverses the damage you would do to somebody to your opponent, or they would do to you, and then you reverse it to them.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite cards to play.
It was like Mirror Force too, isn't it? It's like the same thing.
I don't remember that one, but
I don't remember any of these.
I remember first time when it came out, we were using Monster Reborn. And then we didn't actually know how to use it. We just kept using it all the time. We had like 10s to like 20s cards in our deck with Monster Reborn. It was nuts.
Yeah, I remember like the first time like we thought we had like good decks. We were like, we should go to like one of the comic book shops and like do one of the tournaments. And then like we started looking in the rules, and we're like, our whole deck is illegal. We definitely can't go do that.
I went to, before Larry's Comics got changed over to whatever the heck it is now, I went there to do like a tournament thing. I didn't do so hot, but I didn't do as terrible as I thought I would.
I came in.
There was, if I remember, it was like 20 people. I think I was like 10th or 11th.
Not bad. Yeah, I never actually like competed. We just played like local with friends. Like I remember I went, like me and Kristen used to go. Well, my main source of like cards was 7-Eleven, right down the street from where like I lived and right where Kristen lived. We would like just go get like a Slurpee and just get like a bunch of like starter packs or booster packs or something. And Like basically open them all up, like get like $20 worth of cards, open all these packs for like a single card that you even cared about.
Hoping we get a Exodia.
Yeah. But yeah, back when that
remember-
was good.
I remember there was a really small little convenience store near my grandmother's house that randomly had Magic cards, and I went up there one day and like they had like the 5 pieces of Exodia, and they were like selling them.
Yep.
And it was like $5 or something. I'm like, what? Like, is this real? So I was like, I'm like, what is this? And like, I went the next day. I was over there. I got money. I was like, I convinced my mom to give me $5, and I like went up there the next day, and they were gone already. And I was like so disappointed because I was like, oh my god, like
I guarantee you, it's like a Japanese ripoff or something.
Yeah, it's probably not the real ones.
But
Not the-
I mean, I didn't care. It's like if I had it, I would still have played it. Like it wouldn't matter to me at that time. So still, like
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much
it
real.
doesn't even matter now with
Yeah.
those 5 cards anymore because they have like each time they come with a new show, they always have like better cards than
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
had previously. And you're like, never mind. Then I have to go back to the store and go get another
Yeah,
starter.
not the best card anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's with like any of these games. I mean like card games, but like you follow it for so long, but as soon as you stop, everything that comes out after ends up being so much better and more powerful than what you have. So it's like unless you keep up with buying and rebuilding your like decks that
Yeah.
you have, it's like impossible to compete. Like I remember when I stopped, like the next series that came out, like undid half the stuff I even like built the decks that I had for.
Yep.
It was like pointless.
So many new mechanics and all that.
Yeah. No effects.
Fusions and stuff. They just got confusing after a while.
Yeah. But I mean, it was definitely fun. I mean, I followed the show like
To the
Rel-
T.
like to the T, like religiously. I like would watch the show, would follow it, buy the cards, like play all the time, and like go through the decks trying to like build them. And that was like, definitely a huge portion of like, not really childhood. It was probably like adolescence, like young teen at that point. Like spent a lot of money on that one when I probably didn't have the money to be spending on that. But what can you do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh's. I definitely spent a lot on that as well.
I don't remember spending that much on it. Honestly, I had like some cards, but I don't know.
I still
Never
got a
got into
ton.
it as much. I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sold mine.
Yeah, I still have like most of mine. I had sold off like a bunch of like the randoms, but I still have like my main deck and like my like big collector box and stuff like that. But I feel like it's like so difficult to try to sell some of them because like you never know like the individual prices. So I don't want to like lose out and be like, oh man, it's like worth like $100,000 on online later down the road. But
Yeah.
those never prove out to be true, anyways.
most of the time.
Yeah.
What? You gonna say something, Brian?
Nope, I was just clearing my throat.
No, before that.
I don't remember then.
I
All
don't know.
right. Well, someone hit us with the
Yeah, I mean-
tabletop.
Yeah, go Sam.
I was gonna say like most of my later tabletop experiences were a lot later in life. I didn't, besides like I don't know, like little kid games like which I'm not gonna count.
Candyland and
Yeah,
that kind
like
of
all
stuff.
that stuff.
Like board games.
You
Yeah,
gotta
like
respect those though. Those are the OGs.
Yeah.
I guess that's technically is. It gets you into it, but I think one of
Shoot to
like
ladder.
the biggest ones going off of Yu-Gi-Oh would be Magic because it's the most similar. But that's the one
Yeah.
I got probably the most into, like over time. And like I remember Scott had a bunch of old cards, and I started getting into it. And he's like, "Oh, I have like a bunch of old cards. You come look through them." And he just goes in the basement, digs up this giant like Tupperware container of these
I think it's the
old
same one that
cards.
he showed me.
And I was like, this
Probably.
is ridiculous. And I just spent like an hour going through all these cards, just like making this random deck out of like super, super old cards. And
Yeah.
that's just how like it started. And then he started getting back into it after I started buying some new stuff. And then he started to get back. And I bring Brian, you used to play too, right? Like, and then you
Yeah,
got back
I
into
played.
it again.
I played, and I didn't even know you played.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember how it got brought up, but oh, you play? Oh my god, I played too.
Yeah.
And then we realized Scott played, and then we just started playing.
Yeah, I used to play in high school. Like there was a shift when I was like still playing Yu-Gi-Oh in high school. And I was like, is it cool? It's kind of not cool. I don't really know. And then like some people were like, oh, this Magic that's been around like forever. You used to play Magic instead. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like it's like a legit whole new card game. I have all these cards.
Yeah, Magic will never die. Like it's been around.
Yeah,
for
Magic
so
is
long.
so much bigger.
It's like older than I am.
But like kind of the same thing happened. Like a friend of mine like gave me a box of like old cards, and I was like, oh, this is like cool artwork and all this stuff, and like
Mhm.
built a deck, and then I started buying some, and then it just accumulated a whole box in high school. And then after high school, I just kind of like stopped because I didn't really see those same guys anymore. And then when Tim like brought it up, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to play. That was fun. And then like right after that, like me and Tim got like super super into it. And then Brian got into it, and then we were just again back to spending a whole ton of money on it and
Spent
building
a lot
like
of money on that.
a ton more decks. And I was like way more involved in Yu-Gi-Oh because you have more money. So it was like, well, Yu-Gi-Oh I had like 2 decks, and like Magic I got like 10.
We running the
I-
same thing. Oh, sorry.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I still have the cards Scott gave me, but I still haven't built the deck yet. I'm still.
I'd say,
I'm not new. I played with Scott before, in back when high school, when we were first freshmen.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing him there in electronics. Was it?
It was either there or like in one of the like the lunchrooms in the morning or something.
Because I remember you guys playing it in electronics, like we had free time, and you guys put down the cards and stuff, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys playing? I'll get interested and stuff. But I didn't really get into it because Yu-Gi-Oh was mostly in my
Still
life
big.
more. Yeah.
Life.
But-
I think we're still running into the same thing. Like you said with the Yu-Gi-Oh though, like we go look up the rules, and all the cards that we made those decks out of those old cards are just like all out of like they're all banned or out of rotation, or like we never actually played in like a standard format where we just play for fun, which I like. But
yeah, and I mean the problem with those two is like they're so fun when you play, but if you look at like the tournament level when like those guys play, like even for Yu-Gi-Oh and for Magic, it's the same thing. They just have like these really specific like deck types that are just they're not fun to like play. They like obviously they work well. They like beat everybody, but like they're just so it like takes all the fun out of the game. They just put these like patterns together. It's like
they do the same thing every time, just about, because they know it's like
and it sucks you into like this weird pattern. And it's like I remember Yu-Gi-Oh did the same thing. And it's like, oh, this deck is so fun. If I had these combos, and you go play somebody else, and like 2 turns later, that whole deck's played, and like you lost. And it's like, what? How did they even like? At that point, it's like I said, you're not really playing the game. You just kind of like found the way to win with the best cards, and it's like that's why I was so interested in playing the tournaments, but then the more like I saw that kind of stuff, I was like, I would rather just play with friends and like get a personal win than like a tournament win.
They do have like I think it's called like I forget the name, like constructed or like Friday Night Magic, where like it's like the standard thing, it doesn't apply, and it's like constructed decks and different. They do have some things like that, like some game shops will do it, but even I'm seeing it in the Magic Arena online that I've been playing. Like as soon as you get so high, everyone has the same deck. And it's like, that's boring to me. It's just like these copy paste decks. Someone like finds what the best deck in that format is, and then everyone just makes all those cards or buys all those cards. And it's like, that's not fun to me. I just like starting from scratch, opening packs, putting packs together, and that's how I like to play Magic. Yeah,
that's the key. You got to have fun with what you do instead of, those are like legit like tournament players, and they're just doing it just to be the best. But what I love about like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, like, and how you guys brought it back, Magic, like it's just the guys just hanging out and just playing Magic. Like no rules, just whatever we can do, what we have in front of us, and have fun. That's what
some rules.
Yeah, I guess that's the best part of it. Like you said, like, they're just so broad. Like those games that you can do that.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no wrong way to play per se. Like you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely like we jump into like Google every now and again, like, ooh, that's a weird scenario we've never come across.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like is like our decks are all like, some of them will beat some other decks. Some of them it's like, ooh, is today my day for this deck? It's not just like, oh, if I use this deck, like you're all gonna lose. Like no one wants to like come over and do that. Like that's not fun for anybody.
You just get that one card, and then you have to look it up on Google and be like, but what's this effect do?
Yeah.
I love how like when I lose, or I feel like we've all done this between Scott, Tim, and I. When we lose, we look at like the next few cards. We're like, "Oh, I was about to draw this card. Man, I lasted a few more turns."
Like the what if game is like just so hardcore. When you play that, you're like, "Oh, if I would have drew this, it would have probably done nothing." But man, if I would have done that, it would have been great.
Yeah.
And then if you end up losing a lot, you spend the next like week debating. You go back and forth from like, do I sell all my cards? Do I spend another $100 on like beefing it up because I hate the feeling of losing? Like everyone has that.
That's true.
Well, that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
So another game I like, and it's not a card game, it's more tabletop, is Risk. I played Risk a lot with my dad. And we would get so competitive. it was just, man, the amount of things you can do in that game, like strategic wise, as far as like placing troops or like determining how you want to attack with how many people. It's very fun to play if you're into like strategy and just warfare kind of games.
Yeah, I think the problem with Risk is because it's like a generic like tabletop, is that it gets like fed into like the normal marketing, and then they come out with like 30 versions of it.
Yeah.
So like I remember playing like the original Risk at my friend's house like when I growing up, and that was like you said, like strategic, and it was like fun, and like you had like good games. And like now, like not that long ago, we played like the Walking Dead version of Risk, and like it made no sense. Like it wasn't like how I remembered it. It was like random stuff was happening, and like, oh, if you do this, like all those things die, and like the game was over in like an hour. We're like, what? This can't be right. It was so confusing. But yeah, they have like Disney Risk and like all these other ones. So I feel like they just keep like bending the rules and like kind of ruin the original concept.
It's so hard to get the original board itself, because if you get the board now, you'll probably get like cubes and stuff. It won't be like the original pieces. So it's not like generic.
Yeah, like the little people.
Or the little arrows, like the 3 arrows and the 1 arrow piece.
Yeah.
Risk never actually played Risk. I never actually played Risk at all. Any versions.
Did you? Like it. So Christian, was that you that we played Walking Dead with, or was that? I thought that was.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, that was it.
It was so confusing. We had no idea what we were doing. I think Michelle was there too.
Yeah, I think it was me and Michelle.
Yeah. So I'll throw one off. So this is technically not a. Well, I'll say it's a deck building game. It's DC deck building.
That's
I really got into this. Yeah. I really got into this because of one of my friends where I used to work with. Really got me into the DC deck building, because I didn't even know what it was when he was explaining it to me. But it's basically you get a bunch of whatever starter packet comes with. You just put them whatever the rules say. You need to put them to certain areas, and then you have a random deck that you build off from that deck to make your own cards, and then you work with your buddies or against your buddies to either beat the game master of the game. What's going on?
I was just watching Tim, and Tim's like weirdly smiling. I don't know. Keep going.
I was laughing because he was laughing.
But yeah, it's either it's all like either a cooperative game, or you can work against your friends and actually try to gain the was it the stars? Was it? I'm getting confused between that and Marvel Legendary, but either way, it's either beating the boss and then beating his lackeys as well to try to get to him. But it's usually some odd scenarios that you have to get to him. It's which are mostly like crises and stuff. If you're not really big on the conflict side.
Sorry.
No. I mean, like you mentioned Marvel like a little bit, but I mean the DC deck building and Marvel Legendary, which is also like deck building, is like Marvel's version of it.
Yeah.
Like those games are like super fun, and they're like, even though each game is like by itself, you can get, like you said, so many different versions, and you can actually combine them. And like you mentioned, like the crisis mode thing, like that's actually like an expansion pack to one of the original games, which adds like a whole new thing, like objective that you have to complete in the game.
It's like scenarios. That's what I was trying to get.
Scenarios that make like the original gameplay like so much harder. But yeah, man, you showed us with your buddies. You actually came over and we played with Tim. And it's when you first look at it, and like there's like a lot of setup. Like Magic, you just like, here's my deck. You both have your deck, and like, let's play. For that game, it's like, oh, we gotta put the mat, we gotta put all these guys, we gotta put this thing here, you get this thing here, you get 12 of these things to start with, and it's a little confusing. But once you get going, it's fun because you're kind of like working together, but still trying to like make yourself really good at the same time. So like I like that it's like combative, but you're still working together. Like it's different than a lot of games because of like how you can go both ways. But it's definitely fun. I've bought a ton of them since we've played.
Yeah, the buying system's pretty dope. Like I like how you can. It's either you go from the random cards in the deck, or you choose whatever's in front of you.
Yeah. I was gonna say kind of what Scott hit on it is I like the cooperative versions of it. They do have expansions where they can face each other, but that was one of the the tabletop, one of the first tabletop games that was like mainly cooperative, working together to beat a boss. And I really like that style of game because, like you said, it's really different than other things where you're just facing each other.
Yeah.
I think the only time I've ever played that DC deck building game, I want to say we were doing a game night over Sean's house, and then Christian came over with it once.
So I think we played DC deck building at Sean's house with you, like before we played Catan that one time.
I remember Catan.
But I think you also played a Marvel Legendary one at my house before, because I remember you being there and you were like super confused. So I think you've played both games once at like different times. They play a little bit differently. Marvel I think is more confusing because there's like a lot of setup, where DC is a little bit simpler because it's you kind of lay out like the river or whatever you call it, and like you can just buy from it, and like those are like you buy people to attack with and all that stuff. Where Marvel's a little bit differently because there's like additional cards you can draw into. I mean, it's definitely not like, I feel like you can grasp those games easier than you can like Magic. Even though Magic is like simpler in essence, there's so many different effects and so many different cards and colors and packs. It's like to know all of it is what you really need to be good, but that's so much harder. Where these games, like once you figure it out, it's like it doesn't get any more complicated than that. It just is like, what type of game do you end up playing that particular time?
Yeah, this is the thing I like about it is because it's always random. You don't always have that same deck you always get in the beginning. Like how for Magic, you guys already have a deck build out for it. Yeah. For this, you work your way buying cards in the game to get yourself a better deck. And as well, I forgot to mention, you get heroes too, which gives you effects that can help you gain cards or either use it against like the villains and stuff like that, which are pretty cool. Yeah,
it's definitely a solid game. I mean, every game we listed aside from probably Yu-Gi-Oh, which I mean won't count it out, is definitely stuff that we want to like play further. Like Magic is huge, DC deck building is huge. Like we definitely have some cool ideas coming up for that. I mean, we haven't played in like forever. Even like Magic is the last thing we played, and even that's been a while. And DC deck building, like we got a ton of expansions we haven't even played, so definitely can't wait to jump back into those.
Once we can finally get together.
Yeah, we can get together, and it's definitely getting there. But I mean, we'd love to jump into a DC deck building or big Magic tournament or something like that. So these are all games that are not just like. That's what's kind of cool about it too. It's like games that are like influential growing up that we're still like actively pursuing to play. So
I wouldn't say that we're going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh, but mostly Magic.
Yeah, mostly Magic because we definitely all have like a lot more cards, and we're trying to get Christian into it, and we got some cool like modes that we want to try to play.
Super Smash Bros. Tourney. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I got the setup for that, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, like any like tournament.
We were talking about that last week. Now I want to play Guitar Hero again.
Yeah, I mean, like with all these games are still like relevant to a degree. So whatever we can like bring back out, we definitely should.
I think we should definitely. Yeah, I'm excited to play more Marvel and DC because, like you said, you bought so many more expansions that we haven't even played yet.
Played them,
And I think one of the times we played, it was such a long game and we lost anyways. We didn't even like win. So it's just like I want to go back and still try to beat that boss like the super hard difficulties because
that's what's cool about like going back to like the crisis things that Christian talked about. So it's like each of those cards basically makes the game so much harder, but what it does is it actually makes the game longer because it's actually meant to, because it's harder, you think you would lose faster, but it makes it longer because you're technically spending all your time fighting that card and not playing the game. So you spend so much extra time just like staying alive and trying to beat that. That way when you like go back to the game, you're like, oh, okay, now we got to do this. And then another one pops up and you're like, God, man, what the hell? So like that was fun. Like last time you're supposed to go through like 5 of those game modes and we made it through like 2. And it was like, oh my God, it's like 2 in the morning. Like what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it's all different modes. It all depends on like if you just want like 2 villains and a super villain, then you could just do that to make the game faster. Yeah. But if you're playing with like 4 people, you have to have a certain amount of cards to actually play against each other.
Yeah, you can tweak it, like make it harder, make it longer.
And and especially,
God damn it,
that happens.
Especially how it all depends on how big your deck is.
Yeah, that also helps
because it can
how
run
hard
out
and how long it gets.
Big decks
When-
matter.
Big decks matter.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Never
it
gets-
does.
But anyways,
It's how you
if
play
it
with
runs
it.
out, then the game's over.
Yeah. It's all done.
All right, we're going down a hill here.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Let's go to a different thing. Here.
So, all right, so we touched
Move
on a
on.
lot of games. Sorry, Brian, hit us with another one.
Another one, we kind of already mentioned it. We never really got into it, but
Catan.
Settlers of Catan, yep.
Yeah, I have that.
It's
on
just, I love that. You can play with 3 friends, 4 friends. You can't really do 2, but I mean, you could if you really wanted to. But it's just
Take
a cool
longer.
little game, strategic game. Just try to, it's really cool trading, building cities, building your little houses, towns, whatever you want to call them. Getting control of ports, getting the longest road, largest army, all that kind of stuff. I'm just into more strategic games, I guess you could say. So that's kind of why I like that. I played that one a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time I remember actually playing it was at Sean's house, and that was the first time I actually played it. And I
Oh,
was
really?
like, dude, this game's actually really fun.
I think
Yeah.
I brought it over, right?
Yeah, it was your,
Yeah,
it was
Yeah, I
your
think
version.
so, yeah. And then I was at one of my game places I go for tabletop stuff, and I was looking at different expansions for that Catan game. Catan. You get confused between those two.
Yeah, whatever.
But anyways, they have like
Whatever
different
you want.
expansions that I want to try out too.
Yeah, I just
I
got the
believe-
expansion. Well, like, I got the expansion that allows for more people. So, like, I think the original stops at 4, but I got the one that
4, yeah.
allows for, like, 5 and 6 people.
Yeah.
It gives you, like, the additional squares to add into the map. But I've
Little
never played with
hexagon.
that many people. But, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a fun one. It's, like, simple once you get to know it. Once you get to know it. Damn it, can't talk. But, yeah, it's always, like, a different, like, game mode. So, that's
Yeah.
a fun one.
Yeah, I think you introduced me to that one, Brian. It probably was at the same time, that same night.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I remember. I'm like, you guys want to play this game? I have it in the
Yeah.
car. Let me-
Yeah, you
Oh,
just had
yeah,
it.
I remember that.
That was
Yep.
funny because like the 4 of us were at Tim and I's brother-in-law's house, and like I don't even know why we're there,
Yeah, why were
and we
We're
were
doing magic tournaments with
yeah,
Ed.
but it was just
Oh,
the
yeah.
4 of us were upstairs playing on the kitchen table just by ourselves, and like no one was there. It was like, why are we at someone else's house just playing our own games?
that?
We-
So that group of people that he kind of mentioned, Ed there, and like they're super big into tabletop games. And I remember when I went over his house is when I played Betrayal. So Betrayal House on a Hill was probably one of like the real big tabletop games that I started playing. That's probably one of my favorite. So that one is what?
Go ahead. I was gonna add something else, but
Ooh. Oh, I don't know.
who was the other guy? It was Ed, and then
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah,
We went
yeah.
over to Dave's house, and then we
Yeah.
played the werewolf game there.
Yes, that was on my list too. So yeah, you came over to his house one of the times, right? So I didn't know.
Yeah.
Were you there when we played the Sheriff of Nottingham and the zombie game, all those two? So we had, like,
Infect-
huge
infected,
game day.
right?
I remember the zombie game. I remember the werewolf game.
Those were really fun. So yeah, we had like a huge game day where we played a bunch of those. And the werewolf one is similar to Sheriff of Nottingham. So those ones are those like everyone gets a card. It's like it's really simple games, but those games are more of like creative games where there's not much rules. You just have a card, and the werewolf one of them is a werewolf, but you don't want to tell like anyone else. I forget exactly how it goes, but the werewolf has to like. Oh, I forget.
There's more
exactly
than one
what it is.
werewolf. If you
Yeah,
have,
there's two werewolves, and they look up at each other, and you have to
there's
like
different phases of the game. Like, okay,
find out who the
werewolves,
werewolf is.
werewolves open your eyes, and then they communicate
Yeah.
with each other.
But I like those type of games like that, and the other one is because it's a lot of mind tricks and like jokes, and like you can really play into the characters, and it's not
Yeah.
really a board. It's just you like everyone playing determines how fun the game's gonna be. So if you have like a funny group of people, those games can be hilarious.
Yeah,
It's like
Yeah,
a
those are
completely
cool.
different style of game.
Yeah, I remember playing the original one. I wasn't playing with you guys. I was playing with my buddy from my old job, and he actually introduced to me into the original one. I think it was the Omen, was the one for
I don't know, maybe.
for that original. Was that the
Sure.
original one
I don't know.
for House of Betrayal?
I just
Oh, that
remember-
one. Oh. Yeah, I
Well,
don't know.
I think I looked it
Sure.
up, and I think there are like a few different versions that I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know like what was first or not, but I know there's a few different
I haven't
versions.
played that one.
I don't know, but
It might have been.
for me. There was so many scenarios for that thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get the hang of it at the first try. So
Yeah.
luckily there was a bunch of my friends that actually knew how to play it. So
Yeah, that game's cool because it's Similar to is Catan is like you flip the tiles over? I forget how that one works.
No,
the tiles
basically
stay.
have cards in your
Okay,
hand.
so Catan, Betrayal, you build the house as you're exploring it. So the map's always different, and then the ending is. I think there's like 100 or something like possible endings. So the game was always different. It could end cooperatively. It could end like everyone's against each other, or like two people versus two people. It's pretty crazy. Like that, I really like that game because it's just like literally a different game every time you play the game.
We
So that one's
definitely
super fun.
take a shot at that one.
Yeah, that one's
Yeah.
really fun. Like
That'd be
I
fun.
think the scenario that we got when we played the first time I played it was, basically you just walk around, you get items, explore the house. You like first half of the game, you have no idea what's going on, but then like the end game, after a certain amount of turns or the omens, you find omens, and then like the event happens. Our scenario was like a giant bird came down and like literally picked up the entire house, lifted into the sky, and there was 2 parachutes in the whole house.
Damn.
And then all of a sudden, it just became a free-for-all. So at first, we were kind of cooperative, and then it was a complete free-for-all of who was going to get the last 2 parachutes. So everyone was just running around trying to, like, hit each other and, like, kill each other to get the parachutes and jump out of the house. Like, it was crazy. Like, a completely different game at the end. It was pretty fun.
Those are cool.
That's the thing I like. Random scenarios. That's like the best thing of any tabletop games that keeps the fun going. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's what helps like shake those up versus like some of the card games. Like Magic is always fun, but if you do it too often and you're playing the same decks, it definitely gets like a little stale.
Yeah.
But like the tabletops ones, like I mean, again, you can't play the same ones, but the scenarios are always different enough. Where especially like the one where you said we like making stuff up is obviously like way more like creative. But like the different scenarios that can always occur, like definitely make it funner that you can always keep going back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tabletop games, card games, whatever in general. That just this whole genre is like, I almost would rather play those more than video games, just because you're together with people and having a good time. I mean, you can be together with people like in a chat party, but physically being with people to me is.
I agree.
Drinking.
Yeah, I think if you're in the same room, like playing split screen is definitely fun, but your focus is not on each other; it's on the game, and you're still having fun. But like if you're sitting across from each other and your focus is on each other because of the need of playing the game, I think that definitely makes for like a better like time, better atmosphere of like laughs and stuff. And I mean, there's times for both, but yeah, I would agree. Like you probably get more laughs and like more creativity when you're playing sitting across from like a tabletop. So yeah, I mean, there's a ton that I still haven't played. I mean, all the ones Tim mentioned, I've never even played, so I would definitely be interested in trying those out
those will
with
be
this
fun.
group.
Those are awesome,
especially with our group. Those would be hilarious.
Cool. Yeah, hell yeah.
I got a couple that on the list that I definitely want to try. I already mentioned like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, House of Betrayal is one of them that's on the list.
Sounds awesome.
And I want to try Pandemic.
Oh yeah,
I
Pandemic.
think I played that.
I've
I think
only
I played that
played,
once.
the
I played that
app
once,
league.
I think.
Yeah,
I played that once.
What was that game that we played?
Aren't we all playing Pandemic right now?
No, not Pandemic. It was the train.
Live version.
The train?
Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, there you go.
No, the one I brought over, Spike.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
that was fun.
Pretty cool. I liked that one. I played it another time after we played it, and I feel like I really like it a lot.
that one was fun,
That's
but
a lot
it
of
took like an hour for it to be fun.
I
like
feel like a lot of those games though.
it was so confusing at first.
Yeah, the more you play them, the more you understand them. You set it up faster. They become more fun.
I definitely liked that game a lot. I played it like 2 or 3 times after we played it. It's definitely a pretty fun game.
Yeah, like Tim, I think you nailed it with like the setup part. Like I think that's like the biggest thing. If you can get good, like any game, like if you can get good and efficient at the setup, it will be so much better. Like when you're sitting there for like 15 minutes setting it up, it's like it just takes away so much from it. So like even the DC games, like Christian obviously like has the most experience with them. So like when he can set them up, it's way better because he's just like wow, slaps them all together and like we can start playing versus like let me check the rule book and like where does this card go and it's it changes it.
I gotta revert all my Marvel Legendary stuff back to the original way because I kind of got it confused for you guys at the first coming back on it. But I'm gonna revert it back to the original, so each expansion goes for that expansion instead of having random scenarios
Yeah.
and whatnot. It's just,
I think the last
Yeah.
time we played the Marvel one, it was me, you, and Tim, and
Yeah.
maybe someone else. And it was like after like 45 minutes, we're like, yeah, let's just not play this.
Yeah.
no,
Because he was
we
like,
reverted back to the original.
he was like still setting it up, and we're like, we have no idea what's going on. He was like, oh, hold on. And he kept checking the game menu, and he's like, wait, this doesn't work. And I was like, yeah, let's try a different game
We'll
mode.
do this some another time.
For that game,
Yeah.
you can actually customize it with other expansions and other games that are not part of the Marvel Legends stuff,
Yeah,
like Aliens.
but
But
like Arrow,
kinda-
like the
it kinda gets-
like the TV
yeah.
version of Arrow.
yeah,
Yeah.
it gets confusing. But that's why I don't want to mess with the DC deck building, because that's why you're collecting more of it.
Yeah, I
'cause,
get a lot of those.
Yeah, because I don't want to have two different things mixing in together. So I'm gonna try to more focus on getting that Marvel Legendary deck building together and set it back to the original way that how we used to play it.
Yeah, I meant to look like the company that creates it, Cryptozoic.
Mhm.
Like I saw something a while ago. They had a bunch of sales, and they like there's so many other like game variations of that, like other expansions for DC, but also just like other types of games. Like they had like some Rick and Morty game that I was kind of looking into that like
Yeah,
looked like
I have one of them.
it looked really fun.
Yeah,
We'll have it.
So like that could be a fun one to try. Like say it's different. It's not like deck building. It was like it had actually like characters and like little pieces and stuff. You actually had like a game to play, but it looked pretty fun.
Yeah, I have one of them, but at the time I didn't want to collect the ones that came out after it because it was too much games that I didn't want to buy and then not
Yeah,
play
yeah.
right away because at the time we weren't playing together as often.
Yeah.
So
And
since now the
they're not
scenario, we
cheap.
might bring it in.
They're expensive too. It's like $40
Yeah.
for like some of those
Yeah.
games.
I'm
Yeah.
frozen on my screen.
Uh-oh.
No.
Well,
There he goes.
that is better.
Oh,
What the hell is going on with me?
I
He just
don't know,
like
weird.
glitched out on us.
Okay.
Everyone seems a little pixely, even Scott for me right now. Okay.
Reverting back to
Internet.
Fine.
Internet.
back to the old school Windows.
So yeah, earlier like when Brian
Millennium.
said like he'd rather playing board games over video games. I completely agree. I think it's like you remember it more. You create more memories
Mhm.
when you do that.
Yeah.
It's more fulfilling in a sense. Like when you play again, like I don't know, like any game, it's fun at the moment, but then they kind of all blend together eventually, and then you don't really remember them anymore. Like what you played last night, like you remember having fun with your friends, but
Yeah.
like a board game, you'll remember that way longer. Like we all
Yeah.
have these stories, like that game that I mentioned, but I was probably like 5 years ago at this point, and I still remember exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Like you remember those way better
Yeah.
than
You'll
just
forget,
playing
you'll
this.
forget about all the wins in Call of Duty, all the,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
you
Just like
remember those
Warzone.
times you had with your friends.
Yeah. It's
Just
just
like
it's
Warzone,
like,
it gets boring.
yeah, it's like a difference
a while.
between like when you're playing a video game, even if you're like split screen or whatever, like you remember like the game. You remember not necessarily like the night, the moment, but when you play like a tabletop or like some immersive game, you're like, oh, remember that night that we played that game?
Yeah,
And it's like the memory is like the occurrence of you playing it, not like, oh, do you remember like that time I won in Mario Kart? And it's like, oh, what time was that? Like that, like
Tim yelled at Scott for beating us all in Magic.
yeah, like
Happens
it's
a
like
lot.
I kind of remember that, but it's like you don't remember like the occurrence of it. It's so that's I think that's like the difference. You kind of like treasure the memory of the game or like the playing with everybody versus just like that random event in like a video game. Not to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
knock on the video games, obviously like we're trying to do both, but like I think a good blend of that definitely will keep it super interesting.
yeah. You got to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
All right.
I think
That
that's
was a pretty.
yeah, that was
Pretty
pretty good. I think
We
that
got it.
rounds us out for some sweet tabletop, old and new.
Yeah. What we want to do in the future.
Well, speaking of
But-
tabletop,
Yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons.
Still working
Yeah.
on it.
Damn.
little different scenario from what we
Yeah.
mentioned earlier.
Yeah, well, we're all used to actually. So
Yeah, I think tabletop lists probably like have Dungeons and Dragons on them like number one for like
Yeah.
everybody. But for this group, we've never like really played. Like Brian's played more when we've been doing like a ton of setup. Yeah, we mentioned
As
a
we-
while ago we're gonna try to do some campaigns and stuff, but we're still working on putting all of our pieces together and figuring out what the hell it even means.
we're in the process.
As we speak at this time, I already play like once to twice a week with a different group of people.
Mhm.
Now we're just gonna have like a whole nother game, and I'll be the DM. So it kind of be like a good balance. And the other one, I'm a player. Then our thing, I'll be the DM. So it's kind of like a good role change for me. It'll be my first time doing the DM work, so it might be a little sloppy, but I'm gonna try my best.
Sure, it'll be
Yeah.
fun either way. Like we said with Magic, if we break a little rules here and there, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Probably
That's
not going
fun.
to be textbook, but it'll be fun. I mean, I
Yeah.
already have fun just creating our character. We didn't even do anything yet.
Yeah.
I've fun making my
Yeah, we
character.
created some characters. We like just trying to figure out a name, which is pointless. But then like the
Yes.
classes and what even all these things mean. Like,
Especially if Scott keeps changing your name in the Google Doc to be something different
Yeah.
every time.
I mean, if you can have a race of wet, I mean that's pretty sweet. It's like
Well, that's my name. Wet
Tim's
McNasty.
character is is race wet, Wet McNasty, Wet McGinnis, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, is it? I don't know if it's. I think you changed it to Wet
Wet
McGinnis.
McGinnis
but I
nips.
don't know.
Yeah,
It's just, they keep getting changed.
yeah, it was rough. And Christian, were you like Ruffy Puffy Pumpkin or
I
I
something?
know. I know. It was Brian that got me that name.
I did
But-
not put you. Scott definitely did not.
Scott's been changing everyone's name. Yeah, he
Oh,
keeps changing
Scott.
everyone's
Okay.
name.
All right, so what do we got? We got characters created. We got
Yep.
our map created
map.
by our DM. We got our little icon guys created.
Mhm.
Right.
So
Or-
basically,
What else we got?
you got
What does this one need?
there's a main world map that's all done. I showed them that
Yeah.
because I had to bring them into Roll20, which is the website we'll be using to play virtually. And in the map, I have each individual city already built and made and put onto the website, so I can just switch them in and out of scenes and cities whenever the story allows for it. Yeah, we did our characters. We got little icons to represent each one of them to
Mhm.
put into the maps or the scenes or whatever. I mean, pretty much the only thing left to do is play, make the story.
Sweet.
Huh?
It's a developing story in my head. I've kind of already got the first few weeks planned out as to what they're going to be doing.
We that
Yeah.
close?
That's awesome.
I didn't know we're that close already.
Now we gotta beat like our characters themselves eventually. Like,
Yeah,
eventually
we'll
we're gonna
get
be
into
living their lives.
Yeah, we gotta get
Yeah.
into like the concept of
You
how it
gotta
is to
be-
even
you gotta
play.
Speak like your character. You
Oh,
got.
I'm gonna be
I don't know how to speak like a
100%.
dragon.
I'm
Tim, you
gonna
just
be,
gotta speak real wet like.
wet. Yeah, I'm gonna be wicked.
No,
wet.
no,
Yeah,
no,
Like
no,
water
no, no,
and
no.
speak at the same time.
like drowning.
But yeah, I mean, it's more like just thinking of your character rather than thinking of what. Okay, I'm Christian. I would do this, but it's actually your character. You know what I mean? So in real life, you might not want to kill the bartender, but your character might want to kill the bartender.
I'm
Gotta
gonna
play
kill
it
every
out.
bartender. I didn't know I could do that. Now I'm gonna kill every bartender.
You can do like anything you want.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to say that now. And then we just,
I think it'll be good. I think it'll in the beginning it'll probably be rough because we'll be limiting like how creative we'll be because we're not sure like what's even going on. But I think after
Or
a
too
while it's
far.
gonna get
So I'll
get
try to-
pretty rough.
I'll try to
Pretty
set
fun.
like the first thing you guys will do will be more of an intro in battling, obviously, because you guys have never played, so you don't really know like the whole mechanics or just the general how to do it kind of thing. So the first one will be more of a I don't want to say a walkthrough, but that's kind of I guess what I want to say.
It's the tutorial in the beginning of the
Yeah,
game.
so
Yeah,
guys can
we have to.
it's a cool thing. We're eventually going to learn long because Brian is the one with all the
Learn long.
experience.
I know what you just said.
Hey.
I can't wait to learn long, dude.
You
Yeah.
I hate learning short.
Once you guys
What does
figure
that
out
mean?
My language.
what you can do, once you guys figure out you can do anything,
Oh,
and you guys are pretty creative, so I mean it'll be pretty funny.
I'm ready. It
I'm
sounds
just
fun.
gonna set a date at this
Really
point
F
because
things up.
Yeah.
we're already almost there. I guess you said, right? We just
Yeah, we just-
kind of get a time to
We got to
do
get the overlay, and
it.
then
Yeah.
Yeah.
just
Cool.
that'll be what you guys physically see. So like what you see right now is our 4 boxes. The overlay is just basically what it is, an overlay. And I'll just have to crop the cameras into the squares and the world map. I'll crop that into the section we make for the world map and all that.
Cool.
So yeah, that'll be fun.
Exciting things. D&D will be huge. Can't wait to get like our first campaign kicked off. Who knows how long it'll take? And I mean, after that, I definitely want to get some other ones going. I'm sure like we'll be able to switch it up and improve upon it every time.
Hopefully
course.
by the time.
Maybe do some parse it.
Yeah, I was gonna say once that's probably gonna take a while. So maybe
We
we'll
already
have to-
we already got the 20-sided die. We got plenty of those, so you don't need to buy more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be probably and hopefully in person we can play some other tabletop games by the time this D&D is done. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
for
lasts
sure.
a while, so hopefully we can get some real stuff going.
Yeah. Cool.
Hands on.
Hands on. Learning long.
Learn long.
Learning long.
That's an important
Yeah.
quote from today,
And,
guys. If
yeah,
anything,
prosper.
learn
Yeah.
long and prosper.
If you learn anything from episode 3, learn long. And deck size matters. We'll leave you with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's a good
guess
closer.
yeah. I guess on that note, that's probably all we get for this episode.
Yep.
So
Okay, Tim, let's do it.
Okay.
we'll do our quick camera high fives. Boom.
Oh, all right. That was good. Perfect. Nailed it. We nailed it.
Cool. All right. Well,
Perfect and
we'll see everybody in the next one.
See ya.
Oh,
Episode 4.
I don't know
Oh,
if
it's
you heard
like
that, but
it's like
something blew up.
fireworks
Things are
and
blowing up.
gunshots going on behind me.
Yeah. Same here. All
Well,
right.
I guess we have to go.
Yeah, we're getting blown up over here, so we
All
need to leave.
Cool. Peace.
Later.
Bye. Oh, I was in the wrong
Okay,
thing.
episode 3, Board with the Boys.
There you
Blah, blah. Okay, we're done. That's the whole podcast.
It's over.
I'll just read them all real quick. Go to the fake tabletop. All right, that's it. Have a good day.
Yeah, made a lot of progress in D&D. Give some shits and
Give me some
classics,
chocolate clans. Oh, you bitch. I was gonna say that.